Thank you, Jean, and thanks to all our friends at the Singapore International Foundation for giving us this opportunity to all get together. I have a 9-year-old son named Ben, and not too long ago I was chatting with Ben about school, and of course there were some other friends of the family involved in the conversation, as friends of the family will sometimes do. They sort of interview a young child. Oh, what do you like? And one of the questions that came up was a friend asked Ben, what do you like most about school? And he gave a very honest answer, and he looked him in the face and he said, recess. And of course, like any parent, I was both sort of pleased and horrified at the same time. I was pleased at the honesty, and I was horrified at my own social embarrassment. But actually, what happened was we then picked up the conversation. And I said, well, what is it about recess that you like so much? What is it that leads you to give this answer? And what Ben said is like, well, we get to do whatever we want. No one's telling us what to do. We have our own structured time. We can choose who we want to play with, who we want to be with. Okay, what else? And he said, well, also we get to make up our own rules for our own games. It's not like when you're in phys ed class and you have to throw the ball like this or kick the ball like that. We get to do our own thing, right? And earlier, before we all sat down, I was kind of taking a look around the room, and I thought to myself, this is a little bit like recess. You have all these people coming together, meeting, mixing, talking in groups, getting to know one another, chatting, exchanging, making friends. And then, of course, when we all get called to sit down, luckily it didn't feel a lot like school, but we can see how comfortable people are when they're given the opportunity to chat and to make their own connections and to draw on their own human imagination and creativity. And so I think that's a context which sets very well for us the stage for this conversation tonight. I'm not going to say a whole lot about Ashoka. Jean has already mentioned that Ashoka is leading the World's Association of Leading Social Entrepreneurs. There are about 3,000 Ashoka Fellows from 73 countries around the world, working in all fields, imaginable and some even unimaginable fields of social work, of education, of health, environmental protection, the protection and promotion of dignity and empathy and the rights and freedoms of peoples everywhere. And in working with this group of Ashoka Fellows over the last 10 years, which has been my privilege, I've had the opportunity to learn quite a bit. And there's always this feeling that, wouldn't it be nice if we can capture all the lessons, if we can document everything that's going on, if we can just take, all of these great examples, all these great programs, all these great ideas, all these great innovative people, and sort of distill them into a few basic principles. And that may be possible. But for me, the 2 or 3 principles that I would just like to suggest to you all before we meet the fellows and the friends from India are that there are just a couple of things that weave together that all leading social entrepreneurs have in common. The first is empathy. Empathy in the sense that the ability to understand what the social and human experience is of other people, and to be able to help them improve and develop their lives and their roles in society according to who they are and what they need and how they wish to live. Right? The concept of empathy stands in some contrast to the concept of sympathy, which is not a bad thing, but in terms of social action, in terms of improving society, sympathy is more based on assumption and charity, or empathy is based more on collaboration and common vision. Another principle which I find common to so many social entrepreneurs is, and perhaps it's not a principle so much as a characteristic, is that of a certainty. One thing that always amazes me when I work with Ashoka Fellows and I spend time with Ashoka Fellows is the sense of certainty that what they're doing is exactly the right thing that needs to be done. Which is not to say that they're so full of bravado and self-confidence that they think that the way they're doing it is the only way it can be done. But the fact is that, the situation that led, Irfan Alam to begin working with rickshaw pullers, or which led Pratima Joshi to begin working in the slums, or which led Vijay to begin working on tech development for rural populations, is the sense that something must be done. It's not someone else's problem. This is our common problem. It's not someone else's opportunity. This is something that we can work on together. And it's that certainty of one's role and one's ability to make change in the world, which is really an important driver and, frankly, an important example and role model for the rest of us. And the third and final characteristic, I've changed now from principles to characteristics. This is what happens when you speak in a sort of, off-the-cuff way. You change the rules as you go along. I learned this from Ben. Is what I think, I can only come up with a very simple word for this, and it's the word joy, right? In that, I guarantee you will never meet a depressed social entrepreneur. And everyone has good days and bad days, right? Everyone has things that work and things that don't work. But I think the combination of empathy and certainty result in happiness. And this is a very important point, because when Ashoka goes about its work, we're not just interested in bringing together our own little elite exclusive club of wonderful social entrepreneurs who we put on stage and who we sort of, listen to very carefully and clap at the end of the presentation for. Really what we want to do is we want to promote a very simple idea, which is that all of us, everyone, has the potential and has the ability and has the opportunity to become a change maker. And not everyone's going to become a professional social entrepreneur the way our guests are tonight. But everyone has that spark. Everyone has that opportunity. Where that opportunity is limited, it means that there's an agenda to reform and to improve society, so that opportunity is evident and available to people. Where the skills aren't necessarily present, that's a huge opportunity and an agenda for us to say, okay, let's build the skills so everyone can become a change maker, right? And so it's essentially, social entrepreneurship, social enterprise, becoming a change maker, bottom of the pyramid, win-win solutions, hybrid value chains, all this kind of, all this technical terminology is very important because it helps us to understand concepts. But at a more human, basic level, really what we're talking about is the ability to share joy and to take something negative in society, the experience of poverty, the experience of exclusion, the experience of oppression, and to transform it into something which is good, something which is joyful. In that sense, I sometimes think of the Ashoka Fellows and other social entrepreneurs as enzymes. They sort of break down something and turn it into something else, which is the extent of my knowledge of microbiology, by the way. And so without further comment, I just would like to invite everyone into the playground for recess, so that we can all sort of share together in learning from and listening to the social entrepreneurs and participating in those three very important characteristics, and thinking about empathy, the certainty of doing good, and the joy that we create in doing so. That's all. Thank you.